Why does it feel like you've been throwing money into a black hole for years, following every piece of compound interest advice, but your account balance still looks pathetic? Why are you religiously investing $200 every month, doing everything the financial gurus told you to do, but after 5 years, you have less money than some people make in a single good month? Here's the brutal truth they don't want you to know. The compound interest story you've been sold is designed to keep you poor while making banks and financial advisors rich. They tell you to invest $100 monthly for 30 years and become a millionaire. But they never mention that this fairy tale only works if you start young, never have emergencies, never face inflation, and can afford to wait 3 decades while your money grows at a snail's pace. Most Americans following traditional compound interest advice will work until they're 70 and still be broke. Not because compound interest doesn't work, but because they're using it wrong. Today I'm exposing the lies, revealing why your current strategy is failing, and showing you how the truly wealthy actually use compound interest. Comment compound truth if you've been investing for years, but feel like nothing's happening. Look, everyone preaches about compound interest, but here's what nobody talks about. 1. The compound interest myth. Breaking down the beautiful lie. Here's the first brutal truth about compound interest that no one wants to admit. The famous $100 a month for 30 years advice is financial propaganda designed to keep you poor and compliant. This beautiful lie has convinced millions of Americans to accept financial mediocrity while believing they're on the path to wealth. Let me show you the math that will make you angry. If you invest $100 monthly at 7% annual returns for 30 years, you'll have approximately $121,000. Sounds decent, right? But here's what they don't tell you. $121,000 in 30 years will have the purchasing power of about $50,000 today due to inflation. You'll have spent 3 decades of your life building the equivalent of a used car. But wait, it gets worse. That $121,000 assumes you never miss a payment, never have emergencies, never need to withdraw money, and that the market gives you a steady 7% every single year. In reality, you'll face market crashes, job losses, medical bills, and life expenses that will force you to raid your investments multiple times. Most people following this advice end up with maybe $60,000 to $80,000 after 30 years of disciplined investing. That's not wealth. That's a cruel joke played on people who trusted the system. There's an ancient Babylonian story that perfectly illustrates why this approach fails. 2 merchants lived in the same city. The first merchant was told by a wise elder, "Save 1 silver coin each month, and in 30 years you'll be wealthy." The second merchant was told, "Learn to multiply your silver coins, and in 5 years you'll own the marketplace." The first merchant followed the advice dutifully. Every month he saved his silver coin, never spending it, never risking it, just accumulating slowly. He felt virtuous and disciplined, believing he was building wealth the right way. The second merchant took a different approach. He used his first silver coin to buy materials, created products, sold them for profit, and reinvested those profits into larger ventures. Within 2 years, he was earning more in a month than the first merchant saved in a year. After 30 years, the first merchant had accumulated 360 silver coins, exactly what he had put in, plus modest growth. The second merchant owned multiple businesses, employed dozens of people, and generated thousands of silver coins annually. The first merchant had followed the safe path to mediocrity. The second had built real wealth. The Babylonians understood something we've forgotten. Time without strategy is just expensive patience. Compound interest without increasing contributions is financial procrastination disguised as financial planning. Here's why the traditional advice fails mathematically. Compound interest is powerful, but only with significant capital or significant time. If you're starting with small amounts and you're already in your 30s or 40s, the exponential curve never gets steep enough to create life-changing wealth. The compound interest formula is A equals P of 1 plus R squared T. The magic happens because of the exponent time raised to a power. But here's the catch. If P, your principal, is tiny and T, time, is limited, even exponential growth produces mediocre results. Benjamin Franklin understood this principle perfectly. He said, time is money, but he didn't mean you should wait around for time to make you money. Franklin meant that time should be leveraged actively, not passively. Franklin didn't become wealthy by saving pennies for decades. He built printing businesses, invested in real estate, and created multiple income streams that compound interest could then amplify. Here's your actionable step. Calculate your compound reality check. Take your current age, subtract it from 65, and that's your remaining investment years. Now calculate what you'd need to invest monthly at 7% returns to reach $1 million by retirement. If you're 35, you need to invest $820 monthly for 30 years. If you're 45, you need $1,444 monthly for 20 years. If you're 55, you need $3,195 monthly for 10 years. Suddenly, the $100 monthly advice looks ridiculous, doesn't it? The wealthy understand that compound interest is not a strategy. It's an outcome. It's what happens after you've built real income streams, after you've created valuable assets, after you've developed the capacity to make substantial contributions. Warren Buffett didn't become rich by investing $100 monthly in index funds. He built businesses, acquired companies, and generated massive cash flows that compound interest could then multiply. Compound interest was his amplifier, not his foundation. The cruel truth is that traditional compound interest advice is designed to benefit the financial industry, not you. While you're patiently contributing small amounts over decades, they're collecting management fees, selling you products, and using your money to generate profits for themselves. You're not building wealth, you're funding their wealth while getting crumbs in return. But that's just the obvious part. What I'm about to say is what makes the difference between staying trapped in this system and actually building real financial freedom. 2. Why traditional advice fails: the system's hidden agenda. What I'm about to say is what makes the difference between understanding why you're struggling and actually escaping the trap that's designed to keep you there. Because the compound interest advice you've been following isn't just ineffective, it's deliberately structured to benefit everyone except you. Think about it. Who's giving you this advice? Banks that charge you fees to manage your money. Financial advisors earn commissions on every product they sell you. Investment companies that profit from keeping your money locked up for decades. They're all telling you the same thing. Be patient, contribute small amounts, wait 30 years, and trust us with your financial future. But here's the question no one wants you to ask. If compound interest with small contributions is so powerful, why aren't these advisors using that strategy themselves? Why are they building businesses, selling products, and generating active income instead of just investing $100 monthly and waiting? The ancient Roman emperor Marcus Aurelius understood this principle of hidden motivations perfectly. He wrote, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. But I won't be surprised or disturbed, for I can't imagine a world without such people." Marcus Aurelius wasn't being cynical. He was being realistic about human nature. People act in their own self-interest, especially when money is involved. The financial industry's interest is not aligned with yours. They profit from your patience, your compliance, and your small, steady contributions that they can use to generate massive returns for themselves. Let me break down exactly how this system steals your wealth. The fee trap, that low-cost mutual fund charging 1% annually, doesn't sound like much, right? But here's the devastating math. Over 30 years, a 1% annual fee will consume approximately 28% of your total returns. If your investment had grown to $121,000, fees would reduce it to $87,000. You just lost $34,000 to fees, money that was supposed to compound for your future. But it gets worse. Most Americans don't just pay management fees. They pay expense ratios, transaction fees, 401k administrative fees, and advisor fees that can total 2 to 3% annually. At 2.5% total fees, you're losing 50% of your potential returns over 30 years. Half of your life savings evaporated in fees while you thought you were investing wisely. The product trap. Financial advisors don't make money by giving you free advice. They make money by selling you products. Insurance policies disguised as investments, annuities with surrender charges, and actively managed funds with high fees. Every time they convince you to buy something for your own good, they're earning commissions while you're losing returns. The timing trap. The financial industry loves it when you invest steadily through market crashes because they get to buy assets cheaply with your money while you panic and question your strategy. They're using your disciplined contributions to accumulate assets at discount prices, then profiting when markets recover. Here's a story that illustrates this perfectly. Jim Rohn tells about a farmer who noticed his neighbor getting rich while he stayed poor, even though they both worked equally hard. One day, the farmer asked his neighbor for the secret. The neighbor explained, "You work for the crops, I work for the farm. You focus on this season's harvest. I focus on owning more land. You're a laborer on your own property. I'm the owner of an expanding business." The farmer realized he'd been thinking like an employee of his own farm instead of the CEO of a growing agricultural empire. This is exactly what's happening with traditional investment advice. You're working for the returns. The financial industry is working for the assets. You're focused on this year's gains. They're focused on controlling more of your money. You're a customer contributing to their business. They're the owners of an expanding financial empire built with your money. Here's your actionable step. Calculate your fee reality check. Take your current investment balance and multiply it by your total annual fees. Add up management fees, expense ratios, advisor fees, 401k fees, everything. Then multiply that number by 30 years. That's how much you'll pay in fees over your investing lifetime. For most Americans, this number is shocking. Someone with $50,000 invested, paying 2% total fees, will pay $30,000 in fees over 30 years, plus all the compound growth those fees would have generated. They're literally working for decades to fund the financial industry's profits. The wealthy understand something crucial. In any financial transaction, someone is the customer and someone is the business owner. Customers pay fees and hope for returns. Business owners collect fees and generate returns. Traditional compound interest advice keeps you as a permanent customer, paying fees to fund other people's wealth while you wait decades for modest returns. It's a beautiful system, beautiful for everyone except you. The marketing is brilliant. They've convinced you that patience is a virtue, that small contributions show discipline, that waiting 30 years demonstrates financial maturity. But patience without strategy is just expensive procrastination. Discipline without leverage is just organized poverty. Financial maturity without control is just sophisticated servitude. You've been trained to be the perfect customer. Patient, compliant, asking no difficult questions, contributing steadily, never demanding immediate results. Meanwhile, the people giving you this advice are building businesses, generating active income, and using compound interest to amplify wealth they've already created through other means. Wait, there's something you need to pay attention to if you don't want to lose everything you've worked for to this rigged system. 3. The real truth: how wealthy people actually use compound interest. There's something you need to pay attention to if you don't want to lose everything you've worked for to this rigged system. Because what I'm about to reveal will completely flip your understanding of how compound interest actually works when you're in control instead of being controlled. Here's the brutal truth that no financial advisor will ever tell you. Compound interest doesn't create wealth. It only amplifies wealth you've already built. The wealthy don't get rich from compound interest. They get rich first, then use compound interest to multiply what they've already created. This is the fundamental lie that keeps people trapped in financial mediocrity. You've been taught to think of compound interest as the engine of wealth building, but it's actually just the amplifier. Warren Buffett didn't become a billionaire by investing $500 monthly in index funds. He built businesses, acquired companies, generated massive cash flows, and then used compound interest to multiply those already substantial amounts. The difference is crucial. Buffett was compounding millions, not hundreds. When you compound $1 million at 10% annually, you make $100,000 per year doing nothing. When you compound $1,000 at 10% annually, you make $100 per year. Same percentage, completely different life outcomes. There's an ancient Roman principle that perfectly captures this reality. Roman engineers understood that you must first build the foundation before you can construct the tower. They didn't start with the pinnacle. They started with bedrock, built massive foundations, constructed solid walls, and only then did they build upward. The Romans also understood leverage. They didn't just save their coins, hoping for gradual accumulation. They built aqueducts that generated water for entire cities, roads that created commerce for centuries, and military systems that conquered territories that produced wealth for generations. They built assets first, then used those assets to generate the capital that could compound into massive wealth. Modern wealthy people follow the exact same principle. They don't wait for compound interest to make them rich. They build income-generating assets, create businesses, develop skills that command premium prices, and establish multiple revenue streams. Only after they're generating substantial cash flow do they use compound interest to multiply their wealth. Let me tell you about Sarah, a marketing consultant who cracked this code. For 5 years, Sarah followed traditional advice, investing $400 monthly in index funds while working her corporate job. After 5 years, she had about $28,000 saved. She was frustrated because at that rate, she'd need 40 more years to reach $1 million. Then Sarah shifted strategies. Instead of just saving money from her job, she started building assets that generated money. She launched a freelance consulting practice, created an online course teaching marketing skills, and bought a rental property using her savings as a down payment. Within 2 years, these assets were generating $3,500 monthly in additional income. Now, instead of investing $400 monthly, Sarah was investing $3,900 monthly. Her compound interest accelerated dramatically because she had real capital to compound. The math is stunning. At $400 monthly, Sarah needed 45 years to reach $1 million. At $3,900 monthly, she needs only 12 years. Same compound interest percentage, completely different timeline because she built the foundation first. Tony Robbins explains this perfectly. You can't just be in the game, you have to own the game. Traditional investing advice makes you a player in someone else's game. Building assets makes you the owner of your own game. Here's your actionable step. Create your wealth multiplication matrix. Instead of just asking, how much can I save monthly, ask these 4 questions. Income expansion. How can I increase my earning capacity by 50% in the next 12 months? Asset creation. What can I build or buy that generates monthly income? Skill monetization. What expertise do I have that others would pay to learn? Capital acceleration. How can I use my current savings to generate cash flow instead of just hoping for growth? The wealthy understand that compound interest is just math, and math works better with bigger numbers. Instead of waiting decades for small amounts to grow, they focus on creating bigger amounts to compound. Warren Buffett's actual strategy proves this point. Berkshire Hathaway doesn't make money from Buffett's personal savings account. It makes money from owning entire businesses that generate billions in annual cash flow. That cash flow then gets reinvested into more businesses, more real estate, more assets that produce even more cash flow. Buffett uses compound interest, but he's compounding business profits, not personal savings. He's the owner of income-generating assets, not just the customer of financial products. The Romans had another principle. Audentis fortuna juvat. Fortune favors the bold. They understood that wealth requires courage, action, and strategic risk-taking. Sitting on your savings hoping compound interest will save you isn't bold, it's passive. Building businesses, acquiring assets, and creating income streams require courage, but it's how real wealth gets built. Here's the mindset shift that changes everything. Stop thinking like someone who has money and start thinking like someone who makes money. People who have money worry about preserving it, growing it slowly, and avoiding losses. People who make money focus on creating it, building systems that generate it, and using leverage to multiply it. You don't need to wait 30 years to become wealthy if you're willing to spend the next 3 to 5 years building assets that generate substantial cash flow. Once you have real income streams, compound interest becomes a powerful amplifier instead of a weak consolation prize. The wealthy use compound interest as a victory lap, not as the race itself. They build wealth through action, then use compound interest to multiply that wealth exponentially. All of the above will be meaningless if you miss the last detail about taking control of your financial destiny instead of hoping it will somehow work out. So here's the brutal truth that will either wake you up or keep you trapped forever. Compound interest isn't magic, and it won't save you if you're using it wrong. The traditional advice of invest $100 monthly for 30 years is designed to keep you as a customer in someone else's wealth-building system while they use your money to build their fortunes. The wealthy don't wait for compound interest to make them rich. They build income-generating assets first, then use compound interest to amplify wealth they've already created. They understand that compound interest is a tool, not a strategy. It's the amplifier, not the engine. You have two choices. Stay trapped in the beautiful lie that keeps you contributing small amounts while others profit from your patience, or wake up and start building real assets that generate substantial cash flow you can actually compound into life-changing wealth. Here's what I want you to do this week. Stop making your next small investment and instead use that money to build something that generates income. Start a side business, acquire a skill that commands premium prices, or buy an asset that produces cash flow. Do something that creates money instead of just saving money. Comment, take control. If you're ready to stop being a customer and start being an investor who owns the game instead of just playing it. Should I reveal the specific asset building strategies wealthy people use to generate cash flow before they compound it? Or break down how to escape the fee trap and build your own investment system? Remember this. You can wait 30 years and hope, or you can act for the next 5 years and build. The choice is yours, but the clock is ticking.